With the backing of whom?
Backing of CIA, of course. The organization you wanted to join back in the day, as I understand. The organization you wanted to join back in the day, as I understand.
This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin is part of the Psyop. You heard that first clip. That's the most important clip that you will hear replayed from this interview. But nobody will listen to that clip and think anything more than that. They'll say, oh, good thing Tucker didn't get in, like Putin said. Good thing you didn't get recruited and get brought into the CIA, because we need voices like you, Tucker. But that's not the actual truth. Tucker Carlson is an agent of the CIA. They all are. But people's minds can't get past the fact that all media is controlled media. Tucker Carlson is one of the biggest names on the planet. He is one of the biggest names in America journalism. And he is controlled, like all pawns inside of the media are controlled. And obviously people are playing into this because of what Fox News did to Tucker. This builds credibility in these people's eyes. And what you're seeing done is all part of the psyop within the psyop. The CIA is allowing themselves to be the scapegoat here to eventually lead to what they ultimately have planned for Americans, which is the division in this country between the left and right, to make red and blue states, and to leave anyone who's conservative or Christian in these states as sitting ducks for attacks. And the attacks will probably come from Putin himself, who is working with the CIA as well. So what you need to understand is that the media is fully controlled, right? We all look at it, and even Putin's talking about that. The media is controlled. Everything that's going on in Ukraine is controlled by the CIA. These are all truths. There's no doubt about it. But what do you think this is being let out for? This is part of the herding mechanism. You think they could herd you without giving you truth? You're getting sucked into what the CIA wants you to get sucked into. And the CIA will be disbanded. Just like the CIA before it was the CIA, was called the OSS. We heard the OSS was up. No more. We were done with the OSS. It turned into the CIA. It's the snake eating its own tail. That's what we're seeing here. This is a clip I'm going to play for you before we get into the stuff that you need to hear and listen to about the interview. But this is a clip from about 40 to 50 years ago, from the 1970s, where they're talking about the CIA. These are CIA whistleblowers who are talking about then they were saying how in the past 30 years, which means it goes back to the 1940s, the CIA's control is beyond your wildest imagination, with operations like MH Chaos programming. We know COINTELPRO programming. All of these things are psychologically being done to you, okay? They're being done to you because they're being used to herd you. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Edward Bernays in 1928, talking about the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas are suggested to us largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. All of it is controlled. The CIA controls the internet. They invented the internet. We can look at DARPA and the CIA, the invention of the internet, which means they control everything on here. Twitter is run by the CIA. All of these social media sites are. They're more than just data grabs. They're there to use deep, persuasive, manipulative measures on you to control you. And Tucker Carlson is an agent of the CIA. Listen to this clip from 40 years ago talking about how even 30 years prior to that, the CIA had infiltrated everything. And at this point, they run and control everything, including the minds of the masses.
Analysis that we made of the CIA's media operations disclosed, among other things, that they deliver through CIA couriers ready to print or ready to broadcast news, and I put that in inverted commas, which is used by the media. And this is created by the CIA.
How often does the CIA manipulate the media in this way, plant stories, get their views in the media? Is this fairly common as a modus operandi for the CIA?
It goes beyond your, in the course of the past 30 years, it goes beyond your
wildest imagination, the extent to which the CIA has gone to manipulate public opinion. If you include the MH Chaos program, which was a $1 billion program of setting up proprietary companies, setting up student organizations so they could draw radical students in and do every kind of duplicitous manipulation of national student movements, press, propaganda, labor, extensive formation of labor unions, funding of major labor unions, with the objective essentially of manipulating the mind and attitudes of workers throughout the nation and the world.
A whole range of areas wherein the CIA provides briefings to selected journalists, and there are numerous cases where the CIA has, for example, published books, and several thousand books were published in English by the CIA, and this is documented in the Church Committee report. They set up 250 news services and wire services, some of which, not all, but some of which are still in the pocket of the CIA. And I think it's only fair to say that even some journalists who don't realize, there are some who are witting, but there are also some who do not realize that they're being targeted by the CIA when they come home from a trip overseas. They might talk to somebody and they don't realize, at least right away, who they're talking to, and then it turns out that they've been the source of information which was used by them.
So they are molding public opinion. They are molding public thought. And you might say, well, why in the world would the CIA come out and say that the CIA is responsible for this? The CIA is because they're doing this as a herding mechanism. It's the snake biting its own tail. They are letting themselves even be the fall people for what's occurring. They would never, ever allow the CIA to be thrown under the bus like this unless it was part of their plan. This interview would get nixed. Now, Vladimir Putin is another perfect example of how dumbed down the right is, who think that Trump is some type of independent person, some rich tycoon who wants to, who used to be a liberal, who became a conservative, who wants to free everybody and bring freedoms back. They are in such a psychosis, it's just as bad as the liberal side. And this is all done by design. They need to come out of the psychosis. Vladimir Putin is a World Economic Forum young global leader who is placed in this position. Americans are suddenly drooling over Vladimir Putin because he's using the talking points they want to hear. How else do you think they're going to seduce you without talking about the CIA, without talking about the corruption in this country? The liberals are obviously openly showing you that they're corrupt. They're doing this by design. These stories are only out there to manipulate you. All this stuff with Biden is done by design. Oh, how come Biden is getting, he gets caught with all these documents. He doesn't go to court. He doesn't get impeached. There's nothing with him, but it's only Trump. They're doing it to you by design, to say that these people are above the law and you're not, and the laws are going to be put in place to enslave you, which are true. That is what's happening. But they're doing this to manipulate you into the next step of where they want to move you. Putin says that 95% of world terrorist attacks are made by the CIA. That's true. But the CIA works with all the intel agencies in all the countries. It's one giant CIA. M16. Look at all the countries out there, right? And then he goes into the CIA is a rogue element of the deep state. The CIA is the deep state. But so are all the politicians, are all government agents, just like all the celebrities are, just like all the news anchors are. They had control of the news media 100 years ago. What, Tucker Carlson snuck in 20 years ago, even though he's his background is from rich tycoon families. He was on CNN for years, became, a talker on Fox News. He switched political, because they move these agents around based on their skills, based on their herding mechanisms as far as how they could speak to their audience. And Tucker Carlson was placed on the conservative side, and then they decided to make him a martyr of this whole free speech initiative that's going on, which is really to silence people like me and you. And then they take the talking points like the CIA, and they go out there and they say these things so that you follow them. And eventually you're going to see where this leads to, where they come out and they tell you, you know what, we can't live in this country anymore the way that it is. There's rules set up for these people. They have free speech. They're allowed to commit crimes. They're allowing crimes. We can't live among them anymore. They're doing it by design. All of this stuff is a gaslighting tactic the CIA is using. They know how the brain works. They have studied the brain. They have mastered and perfected how to control the mind of the masses. They're allowing themselves to openly be discussed, okay? And for them to say that, well, Twitter is a free speech platform, this is part of the Psyop. Tucker Carlson is getting paid millions of dollars to speak on Twitter. Tucker Carlson still even has his YouTube channel where he could post this stuff. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this is removed off of YouTube to gain support for him. Now, you might, I've heard people say stuff, and I don't want to bring me into it, but about my channel and saying, well, how do we know you're not a CIA operative? Are you kidding me? Nobody knows who I am. I don't even have the same name anymore. I have to constantly change my name. Okay? Tucker Carlson wouldn't be alive if he was actually going against the deep state, if he was actually going against the CIA. This is strategically done. And if you look at the way they operate, it's very, very obviously smart to get people where they want to get them. They're allowing themselves to be looked at as the bully, and they don't care as the villain. They don't care that people are seeing this. They don't care at all because they're going to continue to have control over the media and everything else. They'll just rename themselves a different organization, or they'll remain on the liberal side, and then there'll be a CIA on the conservative side that people think is some type of free agency that's not corrupt anymore, that the CIA has been rid of all the rhinos, the government's rid of all these people who are rats and all these people who are taking away our freedoms. It's all psychological, right? Putin went on to talk about the Nord Stream pipeline. The CIA did it. Everybody knew America blew up the pipe stream because there's not going to be natural gas. There's not going to be anything here in America. Okay? They're going to turn everything green. So the global government blew up the pipe stream, and Putin is in on it too. I mean, how people think that they go rogue from one another when they're groomed by these agencies. You know, it wasn't just Putin showing up at a World Economic Forum, you know, getting invited, showing up and being like, oh, I don't like this. All these people are now playing against the World Economic Forum because they didn't expect you to catch on to any of these, global events like Davos or like the G7 summit. They didn't expect regular civilians to catch on. They're actually using, just like they're using the CIA as a fall guy, they're using the World Economic Forum as well, which is why you see Vivek Ramsaway, or whatever his last name is, you see him go out on TV, because none of these guys' names are real anyway, and he talks against World Economic Forum and how he was, on their website by mistake. And it builds credibility in their eyes if they go after these specific groups now, the CIA, the World Economic Forum, and they're actually agents of them, right? They're allowing themselves to have their organizations thrown under the bus for the ultimate goal, which is to lead you and manipulate you and herd you where they want to do this. And you will be sitting ducks for these people. There'll be a false flag attack, which will be just a real attack, where Christians will be herded into the spots they want them herded into, and they'll be killed. That's what this is leading towards, okay? All these news stories, look at them, right? They talked to John Kirby. America should not believe anything Vladimir Putin says during the interview. So this is a huge mechanism they're using in a psychological war right now. Maybe let Americans decide through policy, some people out there are saying, instead of letting you guys force us into believing this. And they think, like that quote, they think they're independently thinking, right? These ideas are suggested to them. These leaders that they're looking towards are put in place for them to go to. They don't want a natural revolution to occur. That's what their fear is. So they're putting in controlled pieces like Tucker Carlson, who are still controlling the information flow, who are giving you little pieces of truth, like things we all know about the CIA. Everybody knows about the CIA and the OSS. And if you're young out there and you don't, well, now you do. But they're using these groups to take smart people and lead them astray. This is Psychological Operations 101. The perfect quote, like I said earlier in the video, was him talking about how Tucker Carlson wanted so much so to be a CIA agent, and they didn't take him. Oh, and they didn't take him, right? Of course they took him. And that's just their way, their humor to themselves by putting that in there and putting that out there. And everybody hears that and like, oh, thank God Tucker wasn't a CIA agent. Thank God we have him and he's one of us. None of them are one of us. You don't think they have full control of all the media now? You think this stuff on social media that trends is trending because people are just typing the same word in over and over again? Are you kidding me? The CIA is trending on Twitter. What more do you need to know? The CIA is trending on Twitter. Putin's saying these things. Tucker's going there. And then you have the mainstream media bringing attention to it. Oh my gosh, don't believe anything he says. They know by saying that they have no credibility, that conservatives out there are going to believe it even more. So this is a luring tactic for conservatives because everything that the liberal controlled media, they're both controlled medias, but everything the liberal controlled media says, conservatives will believe the opposite automatically by default. They program that into them. So by them going, please don't listen to the interview with Tucker, all the conservatives going, we got to listen to it. Oh yeah, they don't want you to hear this. Oh, they don't? It's trending all over Twitter. Twitter gets more eyeballs than the mainstream news. It's trending on YouTube. It gets more eyeballs than the mainstream news. Now you'll see it removed from YouTube. I guarantee it'll be removed because they'll use that as another way to say, look, Tucker's censored too. They don't want you to see this interview. It gains more momentum that way. And don't look at it as a same thing as something like my channel. I get 5,000. It's not the same comparison. Okay? I get removed and I have to rebrand to even be able to speak. I'm not a public figure. I'm not a known figure. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows who most of you are listening to the channel. These people are put in design. They're controlled op. They're COINTELPRO agents. This is a perfect example of it. Vladimir Putin was groomed by Klaus Schwab. Just because you like the things he's saying, it's called tickling of your ears. It's easy to listen to what they say and to fall under the spell. It's very easy to hear Trump talk and then to say, oh yeah, because he sounds exactly like you'd want someone to sound, who you want to get behind, who you want to have stop this massive wave of insanity that's going on. And that's why they're doing it so extreme on the liberal side, because they know it's going to work conservatives into this civil division that they want. And it's not just civil division. It's moving people into areas and positions that they want them in for them to be sitting ducks. And the rest who go along with the New World Constitution and the globalist constitution will be allowed to survive in this society, and they'll be put into their smart cities, their controlled AI governance cities and states. That's where this is headed towards. There is no breaking away from it. There isn't at this point. They controlled so much in the 1950s and 60s. Can you imagine? It's beyond our comprehension, not just what they control, the technology that they have and what they're capable of. They're listening to this right now. You might say, well, why don't they go and kill you? Well, what would they kill me for? All they need to do is shut my channels down. That is all that works, because then I just am speaking to it's like speaking to myself at this point, right? I'm speaking to all like-minded people. We're all talking about it. I'm not on here saying, well, we could do anything about it or to go and do something. That might change how they perceive me. But they also probably listen to me because they want to see how other people are thinking. They're probably shocked that there's people out there that aren't falling for their psyop, right? But they know that there's going to be some, so they keep tabs on all of us. Then they take me down, then they make me rebrand and come back out, and nobody can find. And that's what they do. They don't need to do anything more. They don't need to come and kill me. But I guarantee you, if someone like Tucker Carlson wasn't one of them, he wouldn't even have made it to land his plane in Russia, period. I mean, think about just this mindset, right? You can't even, how these people can't tell that Putin is trying to work the American civilians. What would he care about how he's perceived in America? Only on a global scale. We've never seen stuff like this. And he comes out and he wants to talk about the American people and how their president doesn't really do anything. It's the CIA who does it. All these things are tickling your ears into thinking that these people are about to blow the lid off of this entire operation. And they're not. The CIA controls this entire operation beyond our comprehension. And these are all agents who are doing this, exactly like I said in the beginning of the video. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. That's what they have right now. And they've had it for quite some time. They're manipulating your habits. They're governing your minds. They're molding your minds, okay? And they're suggesting these ideas to you. They're putting these things into your head that you think are your independent thoughts about, oh, we're going to go after them. We're going to break free. We're not going to stand for this anymore. That's what they want. This is part of the operation. It is so obvious and so clear, and it's also so amazing that people can be duped by these types of these are simple CIA operations. They control it all. All the media and all the news are all fake. It's like, what did the guy say? Ready to print or ready to broadcast news. The CIA delivers it through CIA couriers. That's what the people on the news are. That's what your celebrities are now, because they're serving as an arm in this new world order, as the influencers of news, as the influencers of information, as the influencers of behavior. And then people like Tucker Carlson play the role of being rogue from the mainstream media. Oh, he got thrown off of Fox because he was too controversial. Well, how else? Well, what's going to build more credibility in the minds of people? That is things like that. Going to Russia, the things that he's allowed to say, but he doesn't even give you that much real truth. He just gives you things that tickle your ears to make you think you're getting real, actual information. And you're not. And you'll see where this heads with guys like him and Trump and Musk. These are all CIA couriers, if you want to call them that. They're agents of the government, and they are doing these things to persuade your mind and manipulate you on a mass scale. The result of this is coming. The result of this is the thing that they had planned from the get-go, not something that you're naturally or organically doing. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you, as always, and your families.